Sundheim.
And I'm Grace Turkewitz.
And you're watching 5 Questions. Today, we got the chance to talk to Jason Bassett,
the production supervisor for Hamilton the Musical.
And we got to ask him 5 questions.
Let's hear what he has to say. Question number 1. What is the difference between a production stage manager and a production supervisor?
A stage manager handles the day-to-day aspect of running a show, and the production supervisor will handle sort of supervising all shows. So in a show like Hamilton, which is now just beginning to sort of sprout new productions, I use my stage manager skills to sort of help get each new production sort of up and running, and then I coordinate between productions when each production sort of has a change or has something that universally needs to be incorporated into every production. So that would be the production supervisor end, and the production stage manager handles all of the ins and outs and details of one particular show.
Question number 2. What skills should a student develop if he or she hopes to become a production stage manager or supervisor?
Stage managing is about managing a group of artists. And in a theater, there can be as many as 40 artists in a theater. And so everybody has their own idea of what they need to be able to sort of do their art every day. And a good stage manager sort of keeps in mind the idea that everybody's an individual, and artists have a certain need that needs to be fulfilled. So a good stage manager can balance that in a theater, can balance the needs of all of these artists. But I think the people skills for a stage manager is a skill that feels to me more important than the paperwork skills or the spreadsheet skills or the learning Excel, learning Word. Those are all organizational tools that are very, very important. But at the end of the day, I think it's a good stage manager is about managing people.
Question number 3. What are some rules that you must enforce as a production supervisor that novice actors and tech workers might find surprising?
I think the way I would answer that is to say that if you get to a place where you're sort of enforcing, you maybe have missed something along the way. You've missed planning along the way. Because ultimately, again, a stage manager should be planning well in advance and discussing things and talking about things well in advance of things actually happening. And so oftentimes when you get to a place where you have to sort of force the show into a place, it's because you haven't fully considered all possibilities of what can happen on any particular day, in any particular sort of circumstance. So though we obviously have to enforce rules like you have to be on time, those kind of things, but I think in a larger scale, if a stage manager is really thinking things through, then things sort of feel like they naturally happen in a theater, feel almost unnoticed in some ways.
Question number 4. Who is your inspiration as a stage manager?
I have 2. They're remarkable people as well as remarkable professionals. The first person I came across as a stage manager and really sort of saw the full sort of spectrum of the job, his name is Steve Beckler. And he was the first person to hire me as a production assistant, sort of an intern-like position on a show called Scarlet Pimpernel. And then he hired me for a couple of shows afterwards. But that's where I sort of learned that a stage manager is not just somebody who sort of learns the rules and adheres to the rules, but also somebody who understands that dealing with people is a give and take thing, that rules sometimes need to be bent just a little bit to make somebody feel good and feel comfortable, and that that helping artists to feel alive in a building means that they're going to feel alive on stage, and that sometimes a structure of rules that just gets set on a building can start to drain the life out of a show. I think Steve was the one in particular who showed me that if there's life in the building, there's life on stage, and that makes for an incredible show for an audience. There's the second person I work with, her name is Bonnie Becker. She's still working as a stage manager. Steve has yet since retired, but Bonnie is still working as a stage manager and takes on often the biggest shows on Broadway, like Billy Elliot, and right now School of Rock. Bonnie was brilliant and is brilliant at sort of just being quiet just long enough to sort of let stage managers actors sort of give themselves up in some ways. She manages a building in a very different way from Steve, but in a very effective way. And technically, I don't know anybody who's smarter or more proficient at taking a large show and being incredibly efficient at making sure that the paperwork is accurate and that she understands how everything is moving and how the show needs to move, and do that in a quick and efficient way, which saves the show money in the long run. So Bonnie has those skills that I hope I learned from her. But those are the two people that I would say are my mentors.
Question number 5. Is working for a Tony Award-winning show like Hamilton different than typical production stage management experiences?
Putting up a show is the same regardless of the show. The structure is the same, the template is the same, and like we were talking about earlier, it's about sort of making every show has a different personality, and you have to also realize on some level that you are inventing something. When you invent a show, you're inventing the set, you're inventing the music, you're inventing the whole thing. And so you can take a template from other shows and put it on top of this, but you also have to understand that this is something that's never been done before, and it's never been. So you have to understand that the template may not fully work. You might have to adjust it on some level. So yes, there is an aspect that the sameness to every single Broadway show that's done, but at the same time, because it's a totally unique and different thing, it's going to sort of challenge the template in ways, and you have to sort of be open and experienced enough to be able to sort of roll with that.
We'd like to thank Jason Bassett for taking the time to talk to us today.
For more information on the cast and creative, you can visit the Hamilton website at www.hamiltonbroadway.com.
We'll see you next time on
5 questions.